When a producer sends me their beat and says, you want to buy this? And I say, take me off the list. 8 out of 10 times I get cussed out. They don't want me to tell them that's the wrong approach. They get mad when I tell them. They want to be celebrated for doing something stupid. What's going down, everyone? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club. My name is DJ Payne One. I'm joined by my amazing host, Aaron Knight and Dame Ritter. My amazing co-host, I should say. It's funny how people still think either I'm a guest on Dame's show or the two of them are a guest on my show. MEC is a partnership, guys. Come on. We're live twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.beatstars.live. Those are free. Did I mention that? Tune in, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What do we want to lead with? The T-Pain outburst? Because I thought that was hilarious and depressing at the same time. Hilarious only because I relate to it so much.
We can start there since we both had it on our list.
I'm unfamiliar. I've been out the loop, so this will be new for me.
So let's get some context first. So T-Pain is hiring. Nappy Boy is hiring, and he put out a call for resumes, informal resumes, I would say. But he's specifically looking for audio-visual artists, photographers, video people, and studio engineers. He specifically tweeted, and this should already tell you where this is about to go. He specifically tweeted, don't need or want artists, mixtape, projects, or beats. What ended up happening, he not only got emails full of artists, mixtapes, projects, and beats, but he got Instagram links by the people who were legitimately looking for the job, the right people. And he reiterated his rules, which is, send an email in such and such a format. Every job that you apply for has its application requirements. Of course, that's not anything that's foreign to us. I feel like in the music business, a lot of us act so bewildered. We're like, we didn't know we needed to send a WAV file, or we didn't know you wanted high resolution. I can kind of give that a pass. In terms of a resume with specific instructions, nah, because you can read enough to read that there's a job opening. Can you not read the instructions? Anyway, before I go off, he also asked for videographers to send a reel, right? I know what a reel, we all know what a reel is, right? People were sending him Instagram reels, to which T-Pain responded, I'm not trying to be rude, but my boy, if you got director, cinematographer, or editor in your email, and I say, email me your reel, and you think I mean a long video on Instagram, bro, you got some more learning to do. Just make sure you learn your craft, my dog. So what happened next? People started going off on T-Pain, talking about how wrong he was, how old he was, how out of touch he was. People even started ranting about how expensive a website is to make, because he was saying, don't let Instagram be your only online presence. Because it's something that we've always said, Instagram is not yours. That's not your real estate. And I saw a woman say, well, I got 3 jobs and this and that. Why you want me to make a website? It's like a website's like $20. And, not to take anything away from people, but if $20 is too much, that's cool. I'm not some kind of elitist. It's just like, if you can't do it, then it's not the time for you.
If you're on Instagram or Twitter to see his post and you don't have $20, reconsider your approach. And I get it, because I've been on the internet without $20. But I'm saying, I believe it takes money to make money, period. Even if you go work at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, you have to buy your uniform. And that's like, for some people, that's a barrier. And I get that, but it's $14. I just started 2 websites this week. It's $14 on Squarespace and it comes with a domain. Wix is $12. Like, skip a meal. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you want this?
And there are cards, link trees, that kind of thing that are free.
I'm not even about to argue with the people that say they can't pull together $20 because I get that some people are in tough situations, but if that is the case, you got to put the music stuff on the back burner. Like, just get a regular job.
Well, it's not even music stuff. It's videography, it's photography. You kind of think, I hate to say this, I'm a musician. I kind of tend to think that these other folks, the AV folks, are a little higher than us on the professionalism spectrum, just in general. Okay, clearly I'm wrong. But so the thing is, like,
social media has done the same thing for all creative lanes, right? Like it turned everybody into a photographer, everybody into a videographer, and that allowed a lot of people to like skip steps or not go through the conventional routes where they would understand how to be a true professional in that lane. So it's definitely not just producer.
Yeah, it's everything. It's comedy. It's sex work. It's sports. Everything. But literally, all T-Pain was saying was, be professional and present yourself. This is advice that remember, like 10, 20 years ago, all the music conferences that cost an arm and a leg to go to, you would get that kind of advice where someone would say, hey, here, use an EPK. Don't use your MySpace page. And people were like, oh, that's a gem. T-Pain is highly successful. And he's telling you this for free. He's telling you why Instagram shouldn't be your internet real estate. He's giving you reasons. He's not just throwing it out there. And he's giving you great advice. And people were upset. This is the music business. People want to be celebrated for unprofessional behavior in the music business. When a producer sends me their beat and says, you want to buy this? And I say, take me off the list. 8 out of 10 times I get cussed out. They're trying to sell beats to a beat maker, but they want to be celebrated for it. They don't want me to tell them that's the wrong approach. They get mad when I tell them that's the wrong approach. They want to be celebrated for doing something stupid. They're trying to sell beats to a beat maker. What else do I have to say? We don't celebrate a surgeon for eating a salad when he's supposed to be performing a heart transplant. It doesn't add up. You don't look at the surgeon and be like, oh, why you have a heart transplant right now that you're supposed to be, yeah, but this salad though, like, come on. The music business is such a dysfunctional space, and it will have you feeling crazy because you're the only sane person in the room. I feel like that all the time. I know the two of you feel like that all the time. Are there any other career fields in which a job applicant will cuss out a potential job supplier because they aren't smart enough to follow the fucking instructions for the application process? I can't think of one. There are outliers. Sure, I know people who go into like, I don't know, to apply for a job and they're just vulgar people and they don't obviously get the job. But the music is almost damn near the expectation that you're going to behave unprofessionally and act like an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, people need to understand that T-Pain he had certain instructions for a variety of reasons, right? Like, so if you didn't know what he was talking about, it probably cut a lot of people out because you're not at that level to work with him yet. This is T-Pain. This isn't Joe Schmo that's just starting out, right? And then he also probably wanted it a certain way because he's going to receive a lot of emails, right? And if they all come in with a similar format, it allows him to go through everything a lot quicker just to develop a system because he knows they're coming in a certain way. And it allows him to go through all of the submissions a lot quicker. That's one thing that artists really don't understand because they're not really on yet. They don't have that much stuff going on. They only understand their perspective. They only see their email box and they probably get like 1 email a day, 2 emails a day. Other people that you want the attention of, like they're getting hundreds of emails a day, probably thousands of emails a day. So you have to put yourself, like, understand that perspective. Like, what if I was getting 1,000 emails a day?
They don't.
How would I want? I know they don't.
You are speaking to my soul. The voice that's coming out of you right now is the distant scream from the bowels of my existence. Because how many times have I said, please stop sending me stuff like beats or unsolicited links? Not because I don't like music or I don't want to help people. It's because I get hundreds of emails every single day and I run a business. You motherfuckers don't. And so I get 200 emails that I have to sift through and sort through every single day. And people are like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it actually takes a fair amount of time and energy to get through all that. I'm in a creative field. I'm rushing through emails because I get so many, and that actually disrupts my business. There's an actual real effect. It's like if 100 people came through the drive-through at a fast food restaurant that you manage, and all they want is directions to the other fast food restaurant or something, like that's going to clog things up. And someone would say, well, I just had a question. Yeah, but it's 100 of you that have the same question, and you're messing things up. Do something else. And if I put a sign out, this is for orders only, and you get mad, like when I tweet, stop sending me this stuff, and people are like, wow, you're a real asshole. Send it to me. I would love to have that problem. I'd love to have 1,000 people sending me unsolicited music links in my email and DMs every day. No, you wouldn't. You can't relate. People who can't relate love to talk about shit that they haven't experienced as though they've experienced it and they're an expert on it. And I'm going to take a deep breath because this is a losing battle. I've tried. I don't even tweet about this shit anymore because it's so stupid. The responses I get, people are like, I would love it. You would love to have your time wasted every single day of your life. What drug? Give me those drugs. Give me all the drugs these people on Twitter are on. I need to take all of them at once and just live in a state of blissful ignorance for the rest of my existence.
No, you don't.
When you have nothing to do, you say things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And literally, I'm with you, Dave. You're speaking my language. I have 7 emails that are in regular function for me. 7, because I own 3 companies. And then, you know what I'm saying? So I have 7 that I check daily. And one of them is specifically for the beats, all the random stuff, but I check it because there could be value there, whatever. But I also don't put that on the internet. I have so many people who are like, just put your email out there. And I'm like, no, if you need to get in touch with me, you'll figure out how to find my email or a reasonable way to ask for my email. Cause like I have a link tree, right? So if you want to get in contact with me, you'll figure it out, and it won't be an Instagram or Twitter DM. But that is part of my barrier of entry. If you can get through this, I'm going to believe a little bit of what you have to say you have a little bit of hustle, which is what I'm looking for. And then from there's more things. But I feel like when somebody is willing to give you the golden opportunity, right? And you only have a minor barrier of entry, the moment that you complain about that, you render yourself useless. Right? If you're saying the thing that I really want to do is work in the music industry or be a producer or X, Y, and Z, this is Diddy sending people to juniors. People thought that whole thing was so stupid. But like as a 16, 17-year-old looking at that, I'm like, yeah, you got to do whatever it takes. Whether it's walking through the boroughs of New York to go get cheesecake, obviously that wasn't an urgent need for him, but he's saying, are you too big for this? I just had to let somebody go this week because we had an event and I'm cleaning up trash, and hey, can you clean up trash with me? I asked you 3 times to help me clean up trash, but you're in the green room with the artist that I booked. It's a no. Your job was something way different, but you can't clean up trash with me because you want to look cool. You got to do whatever it takes. So if you're saying that I can't afford a website, that's fine. This is not for you. You cannot now tell the person who created the opportunity that they're doing it wrong because it doesn't fit your needs. The reason that you're in the position that you're in is because you are waiting for somebody to fit your needs instead of going after and creating the opportunity that you're looking for. And that's the truth of the matter. Whether you want to win or lose, whether you lose or win, it's on you. Now, of course, there's L's along the way. Sometimes you may happen to win, but creating a trend has to do with what you do. So if you're trying to win or lose, it's on you. I think it's ridiculous that people are putting the responsibility on this man who's it's insane that he came to the internet for this, and not insane in a bad way, but it's like, what is the likelihood that a celebrity that you love and adore is going to give you an opportunity to informally submit a resume and get a job, possibly within the next couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a crazy, most of the time people go to their inner circle, then they ask for recommendations. And that's why it's hard to get jobs in the music industry. Because if it's a really good job, most people won't even post about it anymore. They're just like, they may put it up on LinkedIn, but they're hitting their friends. Hey, this is what's going on, whatever. So for this man to come to the internet and say, all you have to do is be moderately professional, to have people complain, shows the state of humanity. Really, that's insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys killed this topic, but the last thing I would say, or try to get people to understand, is, you know, he put out these kind of rules for submission, and some people didn't listen. So how is that a good tryout for actually being on his team, right? Like he runs a profitable, dope company, and he's looking for people to kind of fall in line and push things forward, right? If you get hired, well, you're not going to get hired in the first place being like that. But if he did hire somebody like that, and then he instructs them to do something and they decide to do it their own way, like, you're going to get fired like quickly. So, I mean, I know that this is elementary stuff that we're talking about for us, but a lot of young people, they just don't get it, because they grew up in this environment where I do what I want to do, and there's really no humility, and it's you know, and that's what we get. We get this backlash when T-Pain is really presenting probably the dopest opportunity for whoever's going to get this opportunity, or for the few folks that do get this opportunity. It's probably going to be a life-changing, career-changing opportunity for them. You know, but we get this kind of backlash, unfortunately, for a variety of different reasons. And it's just, you know, hopefully young people figure it out quicker, and it doesn't take them, you know, into their 20s and 30s to understand that they should have approached this a totally different way.
Yeah, it's weird that the behaviors that are unacceptable in our day-to-day lives, like at our jobs or with our family, somehow become acceptable in the music business. Like, cussing people out. You know not to cuss your mother or grandmother or father out. You know not to cuss your supervisor out. You'll lose your job. But somehow cussing out T-Pain on Twitter is A-okay. That's how you get ahead in the music business. So I can't wrap my head around that. I have this conversation a lot just with friends in general, just not even necessarily related to the music business, just people, the prospect of having to learn and to go through things, like whether it's a health change, you know, whether the doctor says, hey, you have this health condition, you have to change it by changing your diet or changing the way you exercise. That's too much for a lot of people, and they will choose a life of misery or even death over that. In the music business, I'm seeing a lot of people choose complacency and just not learning. When you say, hey, you really do have to learn, you really do have to come up with a content strategy, you really have to make better music, better content. Nah, I'm just going to wait for my big break. It's kind of analogous. You're not going to die, but figuratively speaking, your career is. And I know you wanted to talk about that, Aaron.
Yeah, like you said, people just don't want to learn, or they feel like they've learned enough. So now all the stuff should happen, right? And it's funny because my business partner and me are always on the same wave. It's super weird, but you know, I launched the Excellence Academy last week, and it's music business education. I'll be teaching twice a month, and then if you want to opt for a third time a month, I'm bringing on special guests, my industry friends, just to teach you basics, 101 to stuff that I'm dealing with day to day, right? So I had this tweet blow up that I was like, we need more execs. Next year, I tweeted this right before the new year. Next year, I want to train execs, because I realize I have spent so much time on artists, and there's a lot of really hungry, very motivated people who don't make the music, but they're looking for an end. So then they get in with these idiots, you know, and they're trying to, and I'm like, yo, there's a million ways to skin a cat. Like, let me show you other ways you can make money in the music industry without entering into an abusive management relationship, or necessarily having to find a job at Sony and you don't have a degree. Like, there's so many other ways. So the Excellence Academy is to help artists, but I also want to help execs. And I wanted execs to know that, like, if you're an up and coming exec, whatever. So everybody's like, oh my gosh, sign me up, sign me up. Cool. I dropped the sign up link. I'm DMing, or not DMing. I'm responding to, I got hundreds of responses to between the two tweets. I'm responding to all of these, and people start responding to me. Oh, well, I already work in the music industry, so I don't necessarily need this. And this is, some people started being like, oh, I just graduated with a bachelor's in music business. And it's like, but I went back and looked at the tweet that they responded, and they were like, I just need help getting my foot in the door. I need the next step. And one thing that I do know, and I swear by this, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I can tell you, like, deals that I have gotten, even this, me being on the MEC, this is not because I know so much stuff. I'm learning every single day, but I filled in for Scotty, met Dame, and then Dame was like, hey, I want you to be a part of this, right? I could have had a million degrees in all of these things. If Dame didn't know I existed, the invitation would have never come, right? And I can tell deal after deal after deal, like real hard money on the table because of who I knew and because I was professional, not because of what I knew. The deal that we just closed with Crown Royal, biggest deal I've ever closed. And I called a friend who makes a living in brand partnerships. I said, this is what I think I want. Tell me if this, whatever. And he was like, well, let's talk about this. We talked for an hour, and it made all of the difference in the deal how I negotiated it, right? So no, he didn't bring me Crown Royal, but he got me exponentially more than I would have asked for because I knew how to ask. You know what I'm saying? So if you are like, hey, I know all these things, you're missing out on the opportunity of a network by telling somebody who knows other things that you don't need to know more, right? So I think it's super strange to me. Again, my business partner and me are always on the same track. He tweeted the other day because we were, doing our year-end expenses, and we looked at how much we had spent on education, and we spent close to 12 grand on education last year. And that's a big tenet for us. Like, we're buying courses, we're pulling up on people, we're paying for consultations. Like, when we decided to start Build Your Own Dreams, we were like, we're not going to bootstrap this part. We have investors, so we're going to invest in our education. So, and it's helped. I made the most money that I've ever in a business in its first year with Build Your Own Dreams. One, because of all of my years of experience, but two, because I was willing to invest in the education. This is 10 years after I've been in the music industry. We spend over 10 grand on education, and people who have just started are telling me, I don't need this thing that you have because I just got a degree, or I don't need this thing that you have because I've been in the industry for a year now and I went to this music business conference. And it's so asinine to me because I'm currently still looking for ways to learn. Part of the reason that I started the Excellence Academy is because I'm excited about the teachers that I can bring in. The reason that I love doing the MEC interviews is because I can now interview people that I want to learn from. I'm not thinking about what the MEC wants to learn. I'm thinking about what Aaron Knight wants to learn. Let me invite a guest, ask them questions. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think people understand how much of a gift it is that we're in the internet age and you can literally learn anything in the world that you want. And so I don't know, it's weird. I think that people say things like that because they don't want to pay for it, but it's $55 a month. That's like no money. That's no money.
You're gonna get people coming after you now. Once you said $55 is no money, you're gonna get
oh yeah, because $20 is so much. But I'm saying, like, you can't pay for a phone bill. Like, you can have maybe 2, 3 meals, 4 meals at Chick-fil-A for that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you giving up to get the one to? You may not know me, and that's fine. But anybody who knows me, it's rare that you are in my circle and not making money. That's just kind of like, so getting in even with the network or meeting other managers who are like, I have manager friends who are getting in on this just to find talent, find people who work. You know what I'm saying? Just for the network, I would pay $55 to be around a high level manager, right? And then the education. So I don't know, that's my rant. I don't understand why we have the MEC every Monday and Thursday, we're going live. Every Monday, we drop a podcast. Every day, we're dropping snippets. People aren't tuned into that free thing sometimes. A lot of people aren't tuned into this free thing. We have 50,000 people, maybe like 10,000 active members between all three platforms, right? So imagine that it's free. People still aren't tapped into that. And I'm like, well, I want people to say, like, I'm willing to commit. I'm willing to invest. I want to spend money on something, because then I know that they're serious. And then people are like, $55. I'm just like, yo, you can never stop educating yourself ever. And you can't pay for the network that I have. So imagine you turning down your dream because you want to be lazy. I don't want to make this sound like I'm complaining about people, but I just don't understand the thought process. What's the grooming around that makes you say like, oh, I'm good? You know?
It's weird because it applies to talent too. It applies to cultivating talent. You'll hear people getting feedback on their music. You know, someone will say, hey, what do you think of this song? This is why I don't even listen. Well, one of the many reasons I'm overwhelmed. That's the other reason. But listening to music, when people say, hey, I need feedback, you give them feedback and they're like, well, really, I just need a chance. Like, no, you need better recording quality. And they'll give you every excuse in the book as to why they don't need better recording quality or better beats or better delivery. It's always like, well, so-and-so did it this way. This person did it. All right, I'm done. You just wasted my time and energy and you learned nothing. And you made it very clear that you're unwilling to learn. I've worked with artists that didn't want to develop and grow and learn or whatever. And it's just, you know, they're not successful today. So I guess that's the average person. That's one of the reasons people look at the music business is so intimidating, because, you know, maybe only 5% of the people survive or get anywhere, but it's a lot of, I don't know, the people that don't make it, I don't look at them as not making it because they are so talented and something bad happened. It's just they didn't try very hard and they didn't grow with it. I mean, I know people to whom bad things happen. Like, I'm going to have them on soon. There was a $3 million lawsuit with Rough Riders, but, you know, other than that, and that's so rare. Other than that, most people, you're right, they're just lazy and they claim. How many conversations do I have with people? I don't have this conversation anymore because I just don't have people like that around me. But where you look someone dead in the eye and say, do you really want to do this? Because if you really want to do this, I want to do this. I've had this conversation with countless group members. If you really want to do this, I'm all in. Are you all in? Yeah, I'm all in. 2 days later, yeah, you know, I just can't do the email thing. All right, we're done.
Aaron, can I ask you, out of the money that you spend for education, what do you feel like was the most helpful? Is there one session or person that's offering some type of service? Like, did you feel like was most helpful?
So we did a lot of varied things. For sure, I'd say the order that we did it in was most helpful. I hired a business coach in September, and he has rocked my world because he's doing the little tweaks, you know, like say it this way, or did you think about this, or asking me questions that make me go, oh, wow. You know, so it's not even the big major. You know, because I was talking to an artist about this and she was like, well, all this information is on the internet. I said, yeah, but why not pay somebody to bring it right in front of me and then tell me how it applies to my business? And so, yeah, he does the little tweaks. He's super beneficial. We had this one consultant that we hired and he was $200 an hour. And we did I think 2 or 3 sessions with him, and with like hour-long sessions. And in the last session, he told us and it wasn't anything that really was groundbreaking. And this is no offense to him, but it was like stuff we were already doing. And we were trying to figure out, how is he so successful? And Like his brand is cool, but like with Build Your Own Dreams, I feel like that's something that everybody wants to wear or see. So I'm like, what is going on with our sales funnel while we're not selling enough merch? And the last meeting, he told us about one app that he uses on Shopify, and it made us like $2,000 like a week later. So that alone, I was like, cool. Like, for the $600 that we spent, we made $2,000 in a week. And then now, obviously, it's carried over. We've implemented it with all of our artists. So that was beneficial. I paid for a speaking course that made me realize that I don't want to be going after speaking gigs. I just need to build my platform and let people come to me. But because of what it took with that speaking course, I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to have another job going after speaking gigs, So I don't know, there was a lot of things that I was interested in last year. We were trying to retune our business. I was trying to define what I was going to do with my personal brand. So I would say my business coach, he's the best spend. And honestly, he's not even that expensive. We spent more on courses than I did on my business coach. And I meet with him every other week still. He's phenomenal.
No. Yeah. I mean, in addition to, obviously it's important to keep learning, but this industry keeps evolving. And every aspect of this industry continues to evolve. So you can never stop learning, or your ideas are going to get stale, or people are going to be first movers on things that you should have been first movers in, and your business is going to suffer because of that. So, hopefully people understand that this is a business that you have to continuously learn, continuously network, because like Aaron mentioned before, there's going to be opportunities that, once you find out about them, they're already going to be taken because it was, they were sourced internally through other networks that you weren't a part of. This is random, but it kind of relates to what we've been talking about. I just want to get your guys' opinion on this, because I came from the corporate world. I'm very corporate in how I write my emails. I try to spell things correctly. I try to use the correct grammar, things like that. And there was this, and I was giving advice on Twitter, but there was somebody that pushed back, somebody that's kind of known in the music business education space. And he said that in terms of writing emails, like it's okay just to like not capitalize anything and just write a quick email. And because that shows that you're kind of part of the industry, because everybody in the industry does that. They don't really have time to capitalize letters and put periods at the end of sentences. Is a white dude, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Just to be honest, I don't really play the race card that often, but because that's not advice that I would give to young, up and coming like people of color, because that might mean something else if somebody receives an email with no punctuation, all lowercase. But I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that, because I'm all about writing, obviously you want to get to the point quick. You want your emails to you don't want to just put in a bunch of fluff that people don't need to read, but wanted to get your opinion on that advice.
I 100% agree with you. I don't, I'm a Black woman, so I pay attention. I have to know the right racial dynamics in a room. So I don't avoid those, but I try not to play into them too much. But typically when I get emails like that, it's from white guys, like young white guys who just feel like my time is theirs and they can just talk to me however. I feel like it's disrespectful. If you're younger in the industry, I feel like if you're older in the industry and you sent it, you've learned a ton of bad habits and been enabled. I don't think a typo is wrong. I don't have a problem with the type, because I'm the typo queen. I had typos, okay. But if you're telling me that what you need to say is so urgent that you don't have enough respect for me to deliver it in a professional manner, I feel like you don't care about how I'm receiving it. You only care about what your agenda is, which I feel like I don't want to do business with people like that at all. So when rappers hit me or producers hit me and they're like, yo, what's good, ma? Let me get a da-da-da-da. I'm not offended in a way that now like I'm hurt, but I'm like, delete. There's no, like that's like if a guy is approaching me to date me or wants to take me out, you got to come correct. And I feel the same in business. There's a respect factor. I think there's a finesse and a charm to the way that you send emails. It doesn't have to, I hate long emails. So I'm not looking for, hello, greetings, Aaron Knight. I need to know, like send it short, but you can't put a comma or a capital or a period. That says a lot about you. And that says a lot about how you're going to try to rush me. I hate being rushed. I despise being rushed. If you can't take the time to put periods and capitals, that means you're going to be trying to rush me and make everything urgent. And that's another thing. All these people, forgive the typos, they put that in their byline. Like, you're not going to rush me. If this is the pace that you work at, I'm not the one that you want to work with. So I do not like it. I think it's unprofessional. I think to say that that's an industry standard is indicative of the privilege and the opportunity that you've had in the industry. Because if I came in that way, or even now, if I send an email like that, people will not take me seriously. So it's unfair to say things like that.
Yeah, I you said it much more eloquently than I could or would, but I agree with you. And that's why I think we need the MEC and a lot of different, music business education platforms, because we don't all have the same experiences in this industry. You as a woman, up and coming Black professionals, Latino professionals, like that. It's still a lot. You're going to deal with a lot of race and gender issues, and you need a variety of mentors and people giving you education so that you can get on the right track, in my opinion, for sure. So Chelsea Cutler, I'm assuming she's signed to a major label. I'm
gonna look that up.
Her Instagram looks like she signed. And she goes, honest thoughts, the music industry is confusing to navigate. As an artist right now, it seems like so much music is being released and consumed so rapidly. Individual songs are catching on social media, but it feels like there is such a massive disconnect between listeners and artists that I haven't experienced before. Even as a consumer of music, I hear so many songs nowadays, particularly through TikTok, but something is missing. In the last year, I've only discovered a handful of artists I feel connected to and passionate about. Albums and comprehensive storytelling seem less relevant as attention spans are shorter. As an artist, I've struggled terribly the last year or so with how to adapt to the way the industry landscape has changed. I don't feel like a content creator. I feel like a musician and performer. Instagram and Twitter have always felt like a place to share pieces of my life at a level that feels comfortable and at a rate that feels manageable. With the way social media has evolved the last year, I don't know how to keep up with how insatiable our content culture has become. It feels exhausting to be constantly thinking of how to turn my daily life into content, especially knowing that I feel best mentally when I spend less time on the phone. It also feels exhausting to be told by everyone in the industry that that is the only effective way to market music right now. I've always loved my management team's approach of marketing my music slowly and sustainably, creating a long-term fan base that feels like a community. This rapid cycle culture that has emerged feels like a tornado. It has become easier and easier to compare yourself to others. I wouldn't trade my career for anyone else's or for anything else. I remind myself that as often as possible. She's young, and I would have thought that this would be a comment from somebody that has been in the game for because she said just the past year, it's been this way for quite a few years now. So I don't know. I mean, she looks young. She looks like she's not even 20. So do we have a response or any suggestions for artists that feel this way?
I wonder who's imposing the content schedule onto her, or if that's just something that she's aware of in terms of the landscape.
She's pretty big. I just looked at her Instagram. So definitely she probably has Instagram reaching out. She's probably getting hit for brand partnerships, and they're probably telling her, you got to get on the schedule. I can see the way her following is, the way her grid is. Even if it's not from her management team, that's why she says, I love the way my management team does. She's probably giving a little shot at her label with that statement, not a full shot, but I like how my management team rolls, but it looks like the label is trying to, so it looks, I don't know who it would be, but she's pretty big to where there's definitely people probably consistently asking her to release regular content.
Yeah, she's with Republic.
And she's 24. She's 24, so she's definitely younger.
Here's what I'll say. Good for her for even talking about the mental health element, and then also I just went on YouTube and found her video, and underneath is a embedded touring schedule, and she tours a lot. Touring takes a lot of energy. So I understand why she would be exhausted. And then on top of it, you got to create content. And she performs. So I understand. She seems to be doing well in spite of resisting the content creation trap, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. It works for some of us. It exhausts me too. But, you know, when I think about it, and this isn't me disagreeing with her necessarily, this is just me musing on my own feelings and my own relationship with content creation, because I create a lot of content, and then when I'm alone, which is always, but when I just sit around and think about it, specifically, I realized, damn, I'm not creating enough content. This happened to me last night at like midnight, and I'm writing a list of other content I need to start taking more seriously. What would be far more exhausting to me than creating content is having a 9 to 5 that I wasn't all that passionate about. That would waking up at 7 or 8 in the morning or even earlier to do something physically and mentally exhausting, and the fruits of that labor being something I don't own. So I just kind of see disappear in front of my very eyes for an hourly wage. That was exhausting for me. And it's exhausting for so many other people. So, you know, I just have to take care of myself mentally and physically. Everybody does. That's not just a musician thing. We all have to. So for me personally, it's like, I feel like I'm in a privileged position to be a career musician in spite of all the content I have to create, because it is a lot of pressure. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, but I set my own schedule, and I'm an adult, so I can work around it in ways that are healthier for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that easy on her for a lot of different reasons. Like, one, that this is the industry that we're in now, right? Like, we like that anybody can release music and we can do it without labels. But with that has opened up the floodgates of just a ridiculous amount of content. And now the job is to cut through the clutter. And one of the ways you do that is to be compelling online, being present online, can engage with people. And yeah, that takes some time away from your artistry, but that is the con for the pro of being able to circumvent the labels and to have an independent career. Number two, I would say that, you know, she signed to a label. You got other people involved now. You got other people invested in your career. So now that other people are financially invested into your career, you have a responsibility to deliver, right? You can't scale back now because you wanted their money, you wanted their platform, you wanted their resources, you wanted their relationships. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, mental health should be first and foremost, you know, and you know, we have to, because you're not going to be able to fulfill your end of the bargain if you're not in a good space. So you want to create those boundaries and do what you have to do. But you have to understand, like, this is the environment that we're in. And until you get to a level like a J. Cole or a Taylor Swift or a Kendrick Lamar, or even like a Chance the Rapper, like Chance the Rapper never complains about stuff like this because he's talked about it, like just kind of going away and just, you know, taking care of the family, taking care of himself, and then popping back in. There is a level where you can get to where that is the case. And it's not, and to be honest, it's not even their level, right? Like even Hobson can do this. Like it's the type of community you build. It's the type of fan base you build where you can kind of pop in and pop out whenever you want, but you have to build it that way and you have to get to a certain point. And then the last reason I'm not going to treat her with kid gloves is because it seems like she has so much support when she talks about her management team and the label. She has a lot more resources than everybody listening to this podcast that has to do the same thing, right? So she has help. And this is the industry we're in, and you know that's just the way the game is played these days. And if you don't want to play it, then maybe you get lucky going some other route, or you go get the 9 to 5 that you're going to complain about that Payne just talked about. So Yeah, I read this post and I thought it was going to be, because I saw the words first. I thought it was going to be like some 30, 40-year-old artist. And it was like, she's 24, like she's been in the social media game for pretty much all her life. Like, you know how attention spans have shortened. You know how much content you're competing with. Like, you're just now realizing this. You got 10 million monthly listeners and you got hundreds of thousands of fans on Instagram. Like, this is old news. But yeah, that's what I have to say. But
I think the part that was interesting to note too was at the beginning I think that there's merit at the beginning of what she's saying, essentially how the TikTok era is creating like the singles game and not deep connection with artists. I think there's merit there. And I think that her saying that should be the beginning of her discovery, because I 100% agree with that. Every song that I hear from a TikTok or something goes on a playlist. I usually never look much deeper into the artist. So I agree with that. But that should be informative to her to say, how can I form more cohesive bonds with the people that I call fans? Because this is an age-old thing, you know. When I was first coming up in the industry 10 years ago, everybody's like, nobody listens to albums anymore. Everybody's just trying to buy MP3s. This isn't a way to sustain music. There won't be a music industry in, you know what I'm saying? Like you won't have fans in 10 years. And then it was streaming. You're streaming, you're not buying albums, you're not committed to these artists, you know, it's like, so I agree. It was weird you telling me that she's 24, because it sounds like an older person complaining about that. That is valid, that TikTok does not create lifelong fans, but the people who survive in the music industry are people who create a niche and then blow up that niche, you know? And so that's like the whole Kanye West thing that everybody was sharing. We don't need TikTok. When I was coming up, people are like, Kanye doesn't use TikTok. And I have even artists that I work with sharing that. And I'm like, hey man, when Kanye was coming up, he was bouncing in and out of studios, playing everybody his beats. He was doing hand-to-hand combat. The internet and COVID have redefined what hand-to-hand combat looks like. So even for somebody like me, I thrive in person, going directly to people. I had to reevaluate that last year and say, okay, I got to post videos occasionally to give myself some more validity on the internet. I don't love it, and I don't do it often, but I'm making a living because I know where my audience is. And I know I can send a missile and it's going to blow up that little island. And that little island is going to trigger 100 core fans. People don't know what a critical mass is. That's the thing. Chance the Rapper has a critical mass, so he can disappear, like you said. Kanye got the world looking at him. You know, Drake doesn't have to do content because they built that critical mass. They found 1,000 people who are willing to spend $100 on them a year. And then they just continue to blow that up. And that's what you're saying. The label does that and they supercharge that. I'm walking through this with all of my artists. If you don't have 1,000 people willing to spend $100 on you, we have to start over. And most of my artists are like, yeah, I got at least 500, at least 700. Like, no, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at your Shopify. No, you do not have that many people. And so that's what the internet is doing. That's what TikTok is doing. That's all these things. And like you said, if you create a niche, Hobson, you create a niche audience, you can come and go as you please. But if you don't know who your audience is, if she knew exactly who her audience is, I guarantee you she could go to her label and say, here is my digital strategy. I'm going to post this type of video once a month. I'm going to do this type of tour recap. I'm going to do this because my audience is actually on YouTube. It's not even on Instagram and TikTok, but I'll still give you guys this content. You know, if an artist came to me and I'm telling them you need to get on TikTok and they say, this is my digital strategy. I have an artist right now. He does not want to be on TikTok. He hates it. And I'm like, well, you have to come up with something else. So right now he's on Twitch. He's going live every single day. Cool. If you're going to be consistent with something, I'm happy. But don't tell me you're not going to do something and you don't have an alternative. Like Payne said, your mental health is going to be at jeopardy regardless of what phase of your life you're in or where you're at. That was a huge issue for me. I realized last year I was so unhappy. I own a company called Build Your Own Dreams, and I'm making all these people's careers happen, and I'm unhappy. I'm frustrated. That's on me. How can I make this work for me? So now I have to go, instead of complaining, and not to say that the post, she can post, do your thing. But now what are you going to do? Are you going to keep talking about how you don't want to get on TikTok and how you don't want to do reels? Or are you going to come up with a solution, you know? And so I feel like with artists, everybody wants to repost that because I didn't know who you were talking about. But then when you started reading it, I'm like, yeah, of course I read this. Everybody's reading. Yeah, the real. What are you doing about it? That's my question. Have your moment, but do something about it.
Because there are, I mean, obviously, with as many songs as that get released, there isn't going to be an emotional attachment to all these songs. Like, there's just a shitload of songs out there. But it's
a 30-second video, probably, you know?
But hold on. But she was saying that basically new music doesn't connect with people. It's not about storytelling. It's all in short form. And or correct me if I'm wrong. Did she not say that?
But she did. But I mean, you can say that about a lot of music and maybe the majority of music. But then you can also look at people that are really connecting with their artist. I mean, with their fans. And like,
I'm giving her the side eye because the biggest songs, the songs that took the industry by storm over the last 365 days, it was like Lil Nas X songs, which were in terms of songwriting fairly sophisticated. Taylor Swift, all too well, the 10-minute version, 10 minutes, a story, 10 minutes that gripped tens of millions of fans, 10-minute video. Olivia Rodrigo, story song. Come on.
Yeah,
don't step into that category. I don't like when people step into that category. If you're feeling away, by all means, express yourself because that's completely valid. But that your mental health and your exhaustion and your frustration, that's a very personal thing. That has nothing to do with the rest of the industry. Don't start shitting on everybody else and then have to walk it back when someone says, what about Taylor Swift? What about Corday? What about this? What about Murray? What about Rod Wave? What about all these other artists? What about the entire genre of pain music? Rap is now all about emotion and pain and storytelling. That's it. It wasn't like this 10 years ago. It wasn't like this 5 years ago. But now because of Rod Wave and Polo G and Murray and Lil Baby and all these other artists, I'm just not a fan of anybody saying that type of stuff, making those kinds of statements, you know, whether I'm just not that's where I draw the line because it's no longer personal. Now you're making this broad sweeping generalization about your peers. And that's not, don't do that.
I bet it is true for a lot of music, but we're just getting overwhelmed.
But it's been true. It was true in the 50s, you know, like those pop records weren't deep.
But there's a difference now with 70,000 songs getting uploaded a day. Like,
but it's a ratio. It's proportion.
For sure. So yeah. But anyway, I mean, congrats on more people knowing you now because you wrote your thoughts about the music industry. So I guess that was a good post.
That may have been her digital strategy. So I'm rocking with it. If this creates what she's looking for, shout out to her.
Yeah. So it looks like we're running short on time. Maybe we'll talk about Nipsey's NFTs next week. Probably give me some more time to learn a little bit more about what you get when you buy the NFT. Anyway, but we could wrap it up.
Well, once again, this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. Our free music business mentorship program meets twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. So if you do want to learn Eastern Standard Time, I should say, if you do want to learn and you don't want to pay for it, this is great. I mean, I know on my sessions, I'm giving information that people would have to pay a lot of money for. So if you don't show up, that's on you. But if you do want to show up, Dame, let them know how to get alerted every time we go live.
All you need to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. You'll get an alert before we go live. Join the sessions and learn something new. I think I'm kicking the year off with a dope rapper named La Russell out of the Bay. I think people will hear a lot of him in the coming years. Seems to be a smart cat, so I'm looking forward to that conversation. So actually, when people hear this podcast, it will be today. So join us today.
Once again, appreciate you tuning in. Catch you same time, same place, same great podcast. Peace.